forget that you and I have been chiming on here for a few minutes. Um, like we know each other because we do, but others
That's
may
right.
not, have that background. So I'll let you go first, Dan. I'll chime in and then I'll hand it back to you to do that presentation.
Okay, no, that sounds good. Well, my name is Dan Brindle, and I am a partner with a company called Financial Strategist Group. Financial Strategist Group is based out of Chicago, right out of Chicago, a place called Crystal Lake, Illinois. And at our core, we're a full service general agency for life insurance. But really, what's made us what we are is what our name suggests, our financial strategies, and also our motto, which is custom solutions for the affluent. We work in the advisory space. Right now, we're working with probably over 1,000 financial advisors across the country in firms of different sizes, some of the top firms in the country. And we help financial advisors, in a nutshell, we help them grow the planning side of their business.
Okay. Okay. Good. I'm glad that you mentioned the life insurance. I personally have a question for you there.
Sure.
Um, so we can get to that in the Q&A section. But yeah, I'm Jason Selno, the founder of Straightforward Financial Insights. We're at the core of what we do as a fractional CFO service for small businesses, which means 1 day a week, 2 days a week, maybe it's a day every other week, helping small businesses get the key performance indicators, what's important to growing their business. And then uh, both you and I, Dan, have some expertise in the exit planning world, and that's how we connected here.
Yes.
So let's turn it over and see what you go ahead with your screen share.
Sure.
Let's see what you got from there.
All righty. There we go. The topic really of today, and you mentioned, that both of us are CEPAs and we're in the exit planning space. So we wanted to make the topic business owner oriented. And we have a strategy, a financial strategy that we use. It's really a financial strategy and a process, a very simple process to help business owners and our financial advisors that we work with. And it's very successful. The name of it, we call it Business Asset Maximization. So with that, business asset maximization is a core and critical financial strategy for business owners, we believe. And the statistics bear out the need for it. According to the Exit Planning Institute, which is really um, um, the biggest professional think tank, if you will, in the exit planning space, is the Exit Planning Institute. According to their statistics, business owners typically have 70 to 90% of their net worth tied up in the equity ownership of their business. So you can basically say 80% of an owner's net worth is in their business before they sell it. So that is literally their future. That's their financial future. And then if you consider the fact that, 65 is typical retirement age, anyone could spend a third of their life in retirement. So this is a big part of their financial security picture when it comes to the latter part of their life. Another statistic from the Exit Planning Institute is 4.5 million baby boomers. We're in the middle of what they call the silver tsunami right now, which is the wealth transfer from the baby boomer generation to the next generation, Generation X. And so they estimate that 4.5 million baby boomers will be exiting their business in the next 10 years. And that's a 2022 study. So we're already well into the way of that transfer as well.
Yeah, we're already in 2025. It's amazing how fast time goes, isn't it, Dan?
Well said. Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah, if I could chime in real quick, you talked
Sure.
about business owners with their portfolio, biggest part of it being their business. I should probably chime in here and there about where the fractional CFO works, because you mentioned the SEPA and we collaborate with others, you know, legal expertise. There's operational folks that really drill down on savings, which can drive money to the bottom line, which then increases, EBITDA or net profit. You're looking at a multiple of revenue sometimes, but oftentimes it's multiple of EBITDA for valuation for your organization. So those things certainly can help. We've talked about this with value acceleration. But that's where a fractional CFO firm can come in and outline what are your drivers, what's most relevant to your business. I've even worked with people that are, in that, should I say it, the EOS, the traction world. I guess as long as you don't talk about specific methodology, you're probably okay and not infringing on their intellectual property there. But essentially, it comes down to goals, right? And 90-day goals and staying on track to really close that gap. Because I'm assuming you've dealt with people that may want to do more things in their golden years, in their retirement years. Maybe you can, not necessarily right now, but touch on that in part of your presentation here as well, if you could, Dan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can I make a comment about what you mentioned about the CFO first?
Absolutely.
And this is based on experience. It's such a need in the marketplace right now for business owners. C-level help. If you can get fractional C-level help, there's some really good flexibility advantages to it. Number one, you're dealing a lot of times with, a fractional CFO, for example, that has a lot more experience because they've been in the business a long time. They've dealt with many different types of companies, for example. You can also literally go out and find the best one because you're
Hmm.
talking about a virtual presence as opposed to hiring somebody, paying benefits. And so I think it's a cost-effective move as well for business owners, but it makes a lot of sense. It really does. I've seen a lot of success come from that.
Yeah, yeah. And you bring up a key phrase there, many different businesses. Um, you know, I think there's some value if you're looking for a full-time person, right? That they have some industry experience. If your company's punching out 100 million in annual revenues worth of widgets, for example. But once you get down in those, into the middle market, lower middle market, smaller businesses, having somebody that's worked in several different industries, you see patterns, you see things that are just good, foundation for running your business well, because you have more of a generalized, and seen problems and solved problems in different industries, different company sizes, different, cultures, right, and attitudes from the top down. So I've stolen the thread there a little bit, Dan. So we've got a lot to get through. So I'll hand it back to you to stay on track. How's that?
No, 100% appreciate that. But no, if you can increase efficiency and lower cost at the same time for a business owner, that's a win-win. So
Sure.
there's no doubt about that. But to business asset maximization and how this fits with business owners, and we believe it's a great fit for financial advisors, M&A professionals, and even business owners serving professionals as well, is because it treats the business like it something that it is desperately, which is a financial asset to the business owner. And unfortunately, the market is not treating it that way right now. The typical business owner, and this is not to a person, everybody's different, but to a typical business owner is more focused right now on profit. They're more focused on income. They're more focused on putting out fires. They're more focused on running their business than stepping back and looking at their business as a whole, as a financial asset that it will be, and how that plays into their overall financial planning and financial goals and objectives. And
Well
what we
said.
see in the marketplace, go ahead, I'm sorry,
I was
Jason.
just gonna say, well, yeah, well said. We see that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, thank you. And what we see in the marketplace as well is financial advisors are not really incorporating it enough into the financial planning side of things as well. And there's a lot of reasons for that. For example, the business determining what it realistically is worth is a problem in the marketplace because owners are all over the map. Sometimes they'll go by something that they heard from another owner or what they guess, or maybe they'll even go by what they call a certified valuation. And that's not really what we're talking about because a certified valuation a lot of times is nothing more than a third party is going to use to discount from. They say, well, you have a certified valuation that says your business is worth $10 million, for example, but I'm not going to pay you 10 million because it's too owner centric. You don't have reoccurring revenue up to where it needs to be. They'll start poking holes in the business and drawing down that number. So what business asset maximization does, one of the first things it does in the process is it brings clarity to the table around what the business is really worth. And that's a huge advantage to the business owner, to knowing their options and what they want to do with the business and how it does fit within their financial plan. But that's also a clear and realistic number that the advisor needs to be able to do goal-based financial planning with the owner. Because if you're taking a wrong number and putting that into the Monte Carlo programs for simulation, for example, or using that as the number for the owner's net worth and it's way off, you're not really helping the owner because you're dealing with something that's not true. I hope I'm making sense, but
Oh, you sure are. Yeah. I mean, I use the metaphor of, going hiking or whatever, or on a road trip, right? You need to know where you're at if you're going
oh
to
yeah, yes,
start down a path and expect to, you know, get to where you intend to go.
there you
So,
go. And a lot of financial advisors don't do this because they don't have necessarily the expertise
mhm.
that you need to be looking under the hood and coming up with the, right numbers as far as what the business is worth and how attractive it is for sale, for example. And they don't have the time. They don't have the time to do all the financial planning work that they need to do for their clients, and then wear this other hat, which is the asset expert for the business as well. So they have these challenges, and a lot of them go through the SEPA process and they get educated. And all that really does at the end of the day is educate them even more on the fact that this is a problem. I can't wear both these hats. I need to bring in some outside expertise to be able to do this properly for a business owner.
Mhm.
So business asset maximization does three things. It considers and manages the business as a personal financial asset. And that does not take away from the way it's being managed now. Um, like any financial investment, the business value must be managed and grown now. The sooner the owner takes control of the value of the business, the greater its potential for growth and ultimate personal financial success. It just makes common sense that if you do take control of it now, in the proper measures and do the proper things, that you're going to grow its potential to its full potential as opposed to waiting too late. Time always matters.
Right. It gives us more opportunities to weather the storm, right?
Yes.
Um, if, for example, you were forced to retire, let's use an extreme example, um, and not to be political, but the tariff conversations changed the marketplace a little bit, right? If you had your account in Fidelity or whatever, and you had to cash out last, March, it would have looked very different than it did 3 months ahead of time or 3 months afterwards. So using that as a bit of an extreme example, the longer the runway, the more you can weather, particular macroeconomic issues or micro, right? So um, I've jumped in there. Let me hand it back to you.
No, 100%. I agree wholeheartedly. It's so important that that is something that's controlled on purpose by the business owner and the financial advisor. But then number two, it aligns the business with the owner's financial portfolio and wealth plan because it brings clarity and control to the table. And then it optimizes the business and the portfolio with the help of the financial advisor for success across all three phases of wealth: accumulation, distribution, and wealth transfer. So, what is the proper solution for what we see in the marketplace right now, which is the business is being treated as a dark horse in the financial planning side of things, and also by the business owner. Um, it's not really considered in the financial planning side of things like it should be. And so the owner's really not getting their goal-based financial planning needs met like they should. So the proper solution is to integrate the business asset into the financial portfolio and plan now. It's to align both the asset and the portfolio with the owner's personal goals. For example, if I have clarity around what that business is worth now and clarity around what that business potential worth is when I do want to retire, um, then you have a much better picture now of what your options are in regards to meeting your goals and dreams in retirement.
Yeah. And Dan, if I can chime in, I mean, it's certainly helpful in my seat, right? You and the business owner, get up to this point. Okay, so now we've got an idea of what our life looks like when we retire, however long that runway is what it is. But now I can work with that. Okay, we need to grow the business from X to Y over a certain time period. We have a general idea of perhaps what the multiples of EBITDA or whatever the valuation metric is. We can start to outline and then break that down into 90 day, goal setting, right? And keep people accountable. And it also aligns the team of the business itself. So there's a lot that's really coming together once you get into these further steps. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. But now the business owner has the expertise he needs. One of the things, and we'll talk about this in a little while, the Boss Network, but it's just a fact that any kind of sophisticated planning an owner needs done, it's going to take more than one kind of professional. So it's very important that professionals work together. But with business asset maximization, the business owner now has the expertise of a financial advisor, which he needs to reach his financial goals, and the expertise of an asset expert, someone that can look under the hood of the business and help maximize the business as a financial asset towards the owner's.
I might have stolen your thunder there a little bit.
No, but well said. So they're starting to provide clarity and control now, which
Yep.
is so very, very important. So what is business asset maximization as a process? How does it work? And honestly, it's a very simple process, a three-step process. The first stage of business asset maximization is getting clarity about the real value of the business. We call it step one, repo value discovery. Repo stands for REEPO, which is a realistic, educated, experienced, professional opinion of what that business is worth. And so what we do is we provide the business owner and the financial advisor with a professional that's suited for that business, that can provide that realistic, educated, experienced, professional opinion of what that business is worth. Now that number, that real number, more real number, can be incorporated now into the financial planning for the business owner, even the Monte Carlo programs, the Monte Carlo simulations that financial advisors do for their clients. And they can incorporate that plus the rest of the portfolio that they're already an expert on for the business owner's advantage. So now you finally have goal-based financial planning for the business owner. And they'll do this for free, these professionals. They will also provide the business owner with a free value assessment of what the potential of the business is. Just because I have a business that's worth hypothetically $10 million, let's say, does not mean it doesn't have the potential in quick order to be worth much more than that, 15 million, for example. If certain things are done in that business to make it more attractive for a third party, for example, to want to buy that business for more money, growing the EBITDA, growing the multiple, growing the profit of the business, lowering the cost, all sorts of things can drive the value of the business. Plus the fact that you're not owner centric. So now
That's
you've
a
got an
big one.
expert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
a
well,
big one.
that is a huge one. You're exactly right.
I
So
tell
you got,
people, oh, sorry, Danny. I tell people, okay, if everything quote unquote revolves around the owner, I mean, you essentially have John and Jane Doe doing business as an LLC or incorporated, looking at it as a third party coming in. Do I want to buy a team and a group of people, or because the owner has unfortunately then an expiration date, right? You have to transfer that knowledge and those processes and have that permeate throughout your business in order to bring that true value. But to your point of going from 10 to 15 million, that can happen in a big hurry
oh, yeah.
as a result of what some of the things you're talking about here today, obviously.
No, well said. Well said. There's so many variables involved that an expert that has experience and education and looks at it in a very professional way,
Mhm.
they can look at that and say, okay, because of this, this, and this is what your business is worth now, realistically. But because of this, this, and this, if we change these things, this is the kind of difference it would make and how attractive it would be for a buyer to buy your business. The unfortunate thing as well is so many businesses nowadays don't even sell. I've seen terrible statistics out there that show a good portion of businesses never sell. They're not attractive enough because they were never looked that way from the standpoint of the business owner looking at it that way to make it a commoditized, attractive, sellable entity when they wanted to exit.
Mm-hmm.
So they give clarity to the table doing that. That's information the financial advisor is going to use and need for goal-based financial planning. They can find things like, for example, is there a value gap between what your goals are financially for your retirement and what the business and your portfolio will provide? So what's the answer? Do we need to be more aggressive in the portfolio to answer that? Or do we need to be, more aggressive with pulling these levers in the business to get to that level? And that also highlights how important it is to make the business attractive enough to sell. But then let's say it's the opposite. Let's say your business is worth more than you thought, and you're overshooting what your goals were. Well, now you can have a conversation with your financial advisor to up your dreams, for example, in retirement. Now your retirement can look better than you thought. So those are all things that financial planning helps solve, that this strategy and process can really be good at positioning the business owner to
Yeah.
accomplish.
Yeah. It's nice to have options. I've worked with some distressed organizations to help turn things around financially and have a financially sound organization. And what that means is you're working within constraints, right? I mean, if you're in distress, the bank's not keen, which is a nice way of saying the bankers are not going to give you money. So you've got some constraints to work with there. It's always best if we can get along the other end of that spectrum and we have options. And, maybe it's if you have too much, then there's some charitable giving or some other things, right? That are on the table for being talked about. But can you believe we've been talking for 20 minutes already?
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, how much time do you think you have left here? We had planned for a half hour, and there is one question that came up, and I had the life insurance question. We can probably go over a little on time. That's not a problem. But it goes pretty fast when you're having fun, Dan.
It does.
So I'll hand it back to you. Oh no. Technical difficulties. All right, technical difficulties. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's on Dan's end. We may have to end and have this a two-part program, but we will just hold for a minute and see if Dan comes back.
Sorry about this.
Well, technical difficulties happen.
Welcome to the
It's
modern world, right?
Yeah, it's like a podcast where they stop and they do a quick bathroom break or whatever. But we're back. We're back. So
No.
pick up right where you left off, Dan.
Yes, sir. Well said. Sorry about that. So really quick, you get the clarity going with step one. Step two is where you can strategically integrate a plan on the business side of it, as well as a plan on the portfolio side of it, to help the owner reach whatever their goals are. Could be transition, succession, sale, whatever the case may be. Now the owner has the dual expertise in place to be able to drive the business and their overall net worth towards their financial goals appropriately. And then number three is the connecting value. That's something we really want to stress. And that's where the Boss Network comes in. That's a network that we put together with professionals. You're included on that, Jason, a very important member. But the Boss Network is bosnetwork.net. And that's where connecting value can come in for the business owner and the financial advisor. One of the big reasons why business owners take the AUM from the sale of the business and go to a different financial advisor, and why the current financial advisor loses the asset of the business sale at the time of sale. The statistics are incredible on that, is because the financial advisor was never connected in a meaningful way to the business prior to the sale. So business asset maximization does that in many ways. And the third stage actually focuses on that and makes that a reality for the financial advisor. Things like buy-sell agreements, key man insurance, executive bonus, the capital needs of the business. So a lot of really good stuff. But to sum things up, we believe that business asset maximization is a financial security tool for business owners. It is a elite growth tool for financial advisors. It's a transformational collaboration tool for professionals like myself and Jason. And then it's also a closing tool for M&A professionals. So there's a lot here.
Yeah, good. I was going to ask, your email and website, but I think we have it down here in the bottom left-hand corner in case anybody wants to send you an email to get the slide deck.
Sure.
So we have that. And my question was, so you just talked about key person insurance. Do non-qualified deferred compensation plans ever come up? And what do those look like with or without life insurance attached to them? You ever deal with that, Dan, or not?
Yeah, we've actually dealt with both,
Okay.
with life insurance, without life insurance. One of the reasons why life insurance is ideal for executive bonus and deferred comp and so forth is because, number one, it's safe. Number two, you can do something called split dollar, to where a portion of it goes to the family. If the employee dies, for example, the executive, or a portion comes back and pays the company back for the premiums that they put into the policy.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the incentivizing of the employee, which is one of the big reasons why it's done, is not accomplished, then the investment can come back to the business. Or it could end up being something that both pays the business back for the investment and incentivizes the employee. So the flexibility, the safety, and the dual reasons why you would have it are big reasons why you see a lot in deferred comp.
Yeah. Now, as far as key people, it can include people of all ages, but a fair amount of the time you're talking people that are in their 50s or 60s. And, some health things tend to come up the older that you get. So let's just assume that it's sufficient enough that the life insurance just becomes unaffordable or the underwriters, decline someone's health. What does that look like without the life insurance attached to it?
Well, I mean, people use assets of value sometimes in place of life insurance if that can't be an answer.
Okay.
The business has certain assets of value, for example. They even put in the buy-sell agreement sometimes that a loan would be taken out to pay, one party or the other. And so there's other legal frameworks that you can put in place if life insurance is not the answer. But then a lot of times things like institutional life are used because it mitigates against health being a big reason why you can't get the policy. And I can't get into a lot of details there with the time that
Right.
we have, but that's another option on the table as well. And then shopping, being able to shop and pit one company carrier against another for the best offer can sometimes help on those ends as well.
Okay. All right. Well, while we had the little outage there with Zoom, I wrote down a question that came in,
Okay.
and that is, when is the right time to start planning for wealth transfer? And what are the key things to get in order before an eventual exit or transition?
The right time to start planning is always now. It
Yep,
always
I
is.
was going to say, I think I know this answer.
Yes, yes. Does that mean you want to execute on every part of the plan now? No, it depends on your goals, your objectives, what the possibilities are. But you want to learn what the solutions, choices, and opportunities are now to help you capitalize correctly on whatever options you have out there.
Okay.
And I know that's a broad answer, but it's so true, because there's so many levers you can pull now that make all the difference in the world down the road, depending on, regardless of how far or close you are to exiting your business.
Yeah, and we touched on it earlier, right? I mean, the earlier you start to plan, the longer runway that you just have more options. And not to mention just the efficiency and effectiveness, all of those incrementally better decisions just along the way with having a good plan put together with the professionals that you need. Um,
100%.
yeah. So before we close out, and thank you for being the featured speaker today, I'd like to thank everybody that joined and logged in. Are there any events coming up that you'd like to talk about?
Uh,
Dates, topics, or a
yeah,
website of where those can be found?
No, 100%. Thank you so much. Real quick, we one of the things we put together for advisors, we help advisors grow their practice the right way for their owner clients. We have something called the Elite Advisor Growth Series, and you can literally Google it, where we have Susan Danzing, who's a business development coach for financial advisors that we've partnered with. There's a lot of really good tips on there for financial advisors that can help them help their business owners better. So it's called Elite Advisor Growth Series.
Okay, all right. Couple things to be able to Google there to find you, some content, great content. Again, thanks for today. I can be found at www.straightforward.today. There's a few people on the team. Check us out. We've got similar materials as far as what we do. And just like you, Dan, I'm sure you've got a link there, which our replay is not going to be clickable, but on your website, on the materials that you've talked about, your promotional materials, there's a way to set up a Calendly, I'm sure.
Sure.
Right? And we have the same thing. Always glad to answer questions for people that work very hard for something that's fragile sometimes, right? With everything that can happen in business. So thank you again for all your time, and we will talk soon, my friend.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you. You do good work, man. Really appreciate it.
All
Take
right.
care. Have a great afternoon. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
It happens. It happens. And you do too, Dan. So I'm looking forward to staying in touch and talking again soon.
Yes, sir. Take care. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Thank you. You
Bye-bye.
too.